we don't really have gender roles within our relationship.
Right, I wash dishes every day.
He actually washes dishes more than I do.
Call me Cinderella.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, LaVie with Nee. I'm Nee, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. Also ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Today's video is extra special. It is part 4 and the last video in my wedding planning series, and I brought my husband today to help us round things out. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
Right, it's LaVie with me. It's me. I'm Justin Miller, owner of Legends of Athletics. If you or your child like athletic content, or you like learning about speed and agility, go over to Legends of Athletics YouTube page, and you can find me there.
Shameless plug. I heard that. All right.
I'm a guest.
Anyways, y'all, we are spilling the tea. We're giving y'all the nitty gritty on what life has been like after we've said I do. So sit back. I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get right into it. I've been running my mouth for the last 30 pieces of this video series. So let's hear it from a man's perspective. Justin, do you have any advice to the brides who are planning a wedding?
Not really. I mean, just take it for what it is. Take everything a day at a time, and don't try to overwhelm yourself. Like, don't put a lot on your plate. Break every task down, and then from there, it's very manageable and pretty stress free. But that's from my perspective, so I could be wrong.
Yeah. Any advice to the grooms?
Oh man, to the groom, just support. Just be there to support. That's all you can do, baby. Just be there to support. In all seriousness, again, it's the same thing. Just take it a day at a time, and then, if it's 2 people working, it's easy to break the task down and make it very manageable. And it's easier to take small bites than big bites. And so, whatever you can do to supplement the process and help out, then just do that.
And one more thing I'm gonna ask before we get into our meat and potatoes. How did you feel on our wedding day? Like, just tell us about it.
Oh my God, it was.
Is there anything you would change, or how did
bubbly? It's just a day to remember. Honestly, I just can't believe that I was there again. And
did you say?
But in all seriousness, it was a nice day. I mean, I tell anybody, a nice day, but just make sure that y'all delegate things out, because you want to be able to sit back and enjoy it, and it's gonna fly. So you're not gonna remember a lot of stuff anyway, but you don't want to overwork yourself to the point where it's not really enjoyable to you. But I do understand everybody's budget is different. I'm not saying that like we the Huxtables, but I know everybody's budget is different. So you just gotta do the things that's gonna work well for y'all. But like I said, just don't overwork yourself that day, because you do want to have a point, especially the men. I know y'all always talk about the women, but the men, you're going to have a point where you're going to sit back and actually remember something or enjoy something about that day as well, because it's your day as well. So, I mean, it's special for everybody involved, especially tying a knot for 2 people. And then, you go from there. But like I said, you don't want to be just overdoing yourself if you don't have to. But I understand some situations you may have to. So it's always, that.
All right, so let's talk about adjusting to married life. Like, we've tied the knot, we said I do, we're back home, and we're settling into our routines. Like, what was like the biggest adjustment that you feel like, just adjusting to married life compared to where we were before we got married?
Oh God, where did y'all start?
You say "oh God" one more time.
No, seriousness. Let me stop playing. The biggest adjustment, honestly, is just lifestyle, the way you live. I mean, everybody has what they're particular about, and so the biggest thing is just lifestyles. We have 2 different schedules as well. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, and of course, with the work that I do, training athletes and things like that, most of my work is a different schedule than my wife's work. So I mean, meshing that together, and that's been changing like every year. So I'll say for last year, that's changed since we've been together. And like we just now starting to get to a point where it's like kind of normal, but it still isn't. And so like that's probably been like the biggest things that I can think of off the top of my head is just meshing lifestyles. And even for me, like I'll leave stuff on the kitchen table, and then she'll clean the kitchen table off. And so I mean, stuff moves, and so that's like the biggest thing is just lifestyle.
Yeah, I think for us though, pre-marriage and post-marriage was a little bit different because we lived together before we got married, so we kind of already had our routines, and we had already gone through the woes.
Right.
The woes.
Exactly.
The woes of living together for the first time. We had already gotten over that hump. So when we came in after marriage or after our wedding, entering into our marriage, the adjustment for me was like, okay, what do I do as a wife now? Like, what does my wife role look like? And how is it different from when I was just a girlfriend or a fiance? And I will say, like, even like Justin mentioned, our schedule from when we first moved in together is completely different from what it is now. And like he said, with the way that he works and the way that we work, his schedule is always evolving and changing like day to day. So I think it's really important for as a couple to make sure that you're checking in and you understand. Like, one thing that we do every morning is I always ask him, so what does your day look like today? And he also tells me like, hey, I'm not going to be home until X time, like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. So I already kind of know like mentally what our day is going to look like.
Exactly.
And what it's going to be
exactly
on the day to day. So we kind of do like that check in. I think that's just become like habit.
Right. That's the biggest thing. It's habits.
It's become, you are running out. It has become habitual now. So we just kind of check in with each other every morning before we disperse. And then we also talk to each other throughout the day too. So it's not like we talk to each other in the morning and then we don't talk to each other again. We're constantly checking in throughout the day. And I think that's another big thing, going from being a single person to a married person or a person in a relationship in general, is just now I can't just do any and everything that I want to do because my decisions directly affect somebody else.
You're exactly right.
So I have to check in and make sure everything's good. Make sure, like, hey, if I'm like, hey, I want to go out, it's not interfering with something that we may or may not have planned. So, yeah.
Right. I mean, and that was a great point. I mean, for me, that's so major is the checking in. I don't even know where to start, y'all. In all seriousness, we're recording right now. And usually, like, when I do my stuff, this is a side note for what I'm about to say. Like, I usually have, like, I don't know, it's like different setup. So, if y'all think my forehead big, it really is, but it ain't as big as it's looking on the thing right now.
What?
Plus, I need a haircut. But anyway.
Ain't nobody looking at your forehead.
Getting back to the main thing, it's like, how do y'all process communication? How much communication is enough? How much too little? How much too much? And then how much space do you give? Personally, this is what I believe. You got to give a person room to miss you. And you got to give a person room to be themselves as well. A lot of times when you see people talk about marriage, they talk about the confines of marriage or the boundaries of marriage or the really the confines and bounds of marriage and what you can't do. But then you got to talk about what you can do. And I think, like, you know, of course, obviously, you have to be respectful of other people. You got to be respectful of them and what they're doing and supportive. Mm-hmm. But then you also have to respect people's space as well. Mm-hmm. So, like, me personally, I'm not a person that as extrovertly, that's not a word, extrovertly, but as outgoing is a word that I'm looking for. As outgoing as my life is, you know, I'm really a person that like to be by myself a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I value my own time. My wife will tell you as well, I value like my own space. And when I say that, I'm saying like people not talking to me, people not touching me, and people not doing nothing. Just me in my box. And that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the way that our work schedules work, we both are in careers that involves a lot of talking. He's a coach.
Right. It's so helpful.
He does
It's always given.
Yes,
it's just given.
Exactly. Put your hand down.
It's given.
We're always talking, and we're always kind of encouraging and putting a lot of ourselves into other people. So as we've meshed our lives together and come together in this marriage and this relationship, like he said, it's very important that we realize, like, kind of like knowing, like, oh man, he's had a rough day. He really don't feel like talking to me, and me just kind of stepping away. We both enjoy our decompressions. We both enjoy, like, that time after work where, like he said, we're just sitting in silence. And it's just, it shows a sign of respect to, like, give your partner that time away because you know that they need it.
RESPECT.
Yes. And so, you know, and not being offended by, like, hey, I just need a second. We say that to each other a lot, like, look, I need 10 minutes or I need 30 minutes. Like, we are very vocal in what we need in ourselves so that we can show up in our marriage as our best selves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, our careers, I mean, because I know some of y'all probably say, I think when I say entrepreneur, I'm talking about selling moon pies or something like that. No, I mean, in all seriousness, like,
he finna drop a mixtape
right.
in the description.
I work, you know, we both work in careers. Like you said, I think it's kind of underselling, you know, to say, like, where, you know, people need you, but it's also a career where you use I'll say, like, in my field, it's a lot, like, both our fields share this, is just a lot of brain power, where you're problem solving a lot. The biggest thing I always ask myself, and I see other people do this, is like, and I've seen this hurt relationships, personally, like, people just dating and people in other spaces, like, is what you're asking really deep enough that you need your partner's input? Like, you gotta think, like, how many decisions does this person have to make a day? And then, is what I'm doing putting more on their plate, or am I being a helper or a teammate and, you know, help figuring this out? You know, just like
easing that load. I will add too, though, you kind of brought something to my brain, is we don't really have gender roles within our relationship.
Right, I wash dishes every day.
He actually washes dishes more than I do.
Call me Cinderella, because I have a home office. Right. I can't work in every atmosphere when I know it's whatever. But I'm Cinderella, Cindy Lou Who, and everything else you want to say.
We don't have gender roles. That's
actually a fresh shot when you get close.
In your nose. We kind of have the belief that everybody kind of contributes evenly to the function and the running of our household, because just like he works from 9 to 9, I work from 9 to 5, and we both want to come to a place of peace. And so that means that we both have to give and put in effort into our home to make it a peaceful space. There's not a lot that I have to ask him to do, and there's not a lot that he has to ask me to do when it comes to the flow of our home. If there's dishes in the sink and he's working from home and he has like 10 minutes, he's going to wash the dishes. If there's trash, he's going to take out, well, he always takes out the trash. He's going to take out the trash. But
they're going to work you.
Also, when it comes to my
till your back hurt, they going to work you.
When it comes to my contribution, I like to make sure that he has a nice meal. I like to check in and say, like, hey, are you all right? He hasn't washed clothes, I can't tell you in how long. So don't do that. Don't do that. So we have a good balance in the way that our home operates to make our home a place of peace. Do you think that people get like wedding blues?
Oh my God. What are you saying?
Do you think people get wedding blues? Like, do you believe in wedding blues?
Yeah.
Have you heard of it, wedding blues?
I have. I believe it's true. I'm gonna just keep it at that. I think it's true.
Yeah. Me personally, I think that people get wedding blues when they've kind of made their entire life about their wedding. I think that's like when it comes, because now.
Oh yeah.
I don't have.
Come on, get deeper. Pause.
No duty. Oh, this gonna get flagged. I think people get wedding blues when they have made their entire life about their wedding. Now you have no identity outside of I'm the future bride, future Mrs., whatever. So when all that's stripped away and you're not getting the attention, you don't have like the to-do list, you don't have anything to do because you've made that like your identity. I think that's kind of when wedding blues kind of comes into play. I don't think I had wedding blues. I think I was more relieved than anything once our wedding day was over.
I know that's real.
Not that we had a stressful wedding or anything like that, but it does like take up a lot of your time, and it's very easy for it to consume you. So I think the wedding blues comes into like when you just don't have anything else.
Absolutely.
Which is a great segue.
Absolutely.
Into talking about your social life outside of your marriage.
Oh God.
Like what is that? Like what does that look like?
Wow. So let's start here. No, I mean,
do you think like how? I know. I already know because I don't want to say do you think because I already know
right.
you
exactly.
do think that it's important.
Exactly.
But how important, or can you stress to the people, especially from a man's point of view? I want you to give advice as a man talking to a woman, the importance of having a social life outside of your partner.
It's important to have a social life. Like that's one of the biggest things I said. Like before we got married, before I got in a relationship, I said, hey, if I have to kill my social life in order for this to work, like it's not going to work because the person that you're going to get is not going to be the person that you like. Y'all, my shirt wrinkled too. It don't even matter. But the person you get is not the person you're going to like. You know, if I don't have a social life, because I've been there, and I think a lot of people have been there, especially as adults. You have to be a man and you have to be a woman. So you need men to talk to. I ain't saying have bad influences as a guy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying have men to talk to and be cool and talk about sports, life, business, hobbies, whatever y'all talk about. But be a dude. Be like regular. Like again, right? Just be a man. Same thing with women. I'm saying it's for ladies. It's like men give a good man. I ain't what everybody know, but good men. Not them Ike Turners out there, but good men give a lot to the relationship, and so the least that you can do in return is like, hey, go out, be with your friends, be with your buddies, go to a game on a Saturday. If it's we in Mississippi, so if it's a Mississippi State game or Alabama game, it'll take all day. Even if you got kids, like, hey, go let them hang out.
Right.
Same, and vice versa. You know, I tell her like, man, you need to go hang with blank. You need to go check on blank or call blank, do something. I don't want to hear nothing else about no complaint about a job. I don't want to hear about no one problems. I want to hear about Nathaniel. And so you just gotta you gotta find that because everybody's different. But when you get in a relationship, one thing that you do off real, a lot of people don't notice is like, first thing you do because you like a person so much is you isolate yourself from everybody else. Like you pull back from family, friends, everything, and things that you've done to make you great before. You gotta take that into account and say, well, you know, is it gonna kill my relationship if I don't go with them? If I'm not at every event? Because eventually what it returns to is resentment, and I don't want anybody to be in that position if you don't have to be.
You need that release. You need to be able to talk kind of just freely, and especially like girl talk. Like women, we talk about a lot of stuff.
TV.
We talk about a lot of stuff.
Love is Blind.
I'm trying to get him to watch Love is Blind, but it's not the same as talking to a girl because
he's so analytical. But my husband pay all the bills.
He's so analytical.
How many Amazon packages can I get to the door before he get here?
And like clothes and shoes and things like that. Sneaking. And I know he could care less. He does a great job in supporting me and listening, but I know he could really care less. And the same thing for him. He knows I like football to a certain extent, but
she can't talk about cover 4.
I don't know. I know
Blitz,
Bama Blitz, and that's it. That's all I know, and I don't even know what that is for real. I just know it's the same. So there's just a lot of things that we can come together and talk about because it's an interest that he has and it's an interest that I have, and I'm sharing my interest with him.
Absolutely.
But it's just surface level. And so you need those outside sources to go kind of like deeper and to also like confide in. I know there's a lot of things that, you know, people say like, oh, you're not supposed to talk about your relationship outside your marriage, and you're not. But you do need people that you trust to talk about certain things with. And I'm not saying like everything, I'm not saying every problem, but I'm just saying like there's just different things that you need to talk about people with to get mindful and good advice from on how to handle things.
Right.
I need to talk to people who are in marriages that are healthy, that are good, that, you know, I'm like, okay, this is something that I wouldn't mind emulating about things that married people go through. So you need those outlets. Your person, your husband, your spouse shouldn't be like your dumping ground. They shouldn't get every single thing dumped onto them. That's just not fair to them. Also, it's not fair to you, because at a certain point the advice is going to be very mundane and it's not going to be effective. And also, there's nothing that makes me more excited than setting up a girls' night. Like, I have it in my calendar. I'm going on girls' night Wednesday, you know, one of my best friends from high school, and I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to get out, to gossip. I hate having to tell him stories and I have to give the background on who everybody is, so what I'm about to tell him now makes sense. Like, I like to just say, oh girl, you know, did you hear about, and not have to say who so-and-so is. You get what I'm saying? So keep that social life, keep all that out. And then also too, to like my ladies out there, don't try to like chop off your husband's social life, because he mentioned this too. Who they become without having those outlets may not be somebody you enjoy. When it comes to your social circle, especially after you are married and you're entering a marriage, don't be surprised if the people you were social with changes, if your friend dynamics change, if you were once close to this one particular friend, but now you're closer to this friend. I know for me, my closeness has definitely changed because I am migrating more towards like my married friends, just because this is new for me, and that's just kind of like the priority in my life right now, is to making sure my marriage has a great foundation. So I am clinging to like my married friends more than I am my single friends, and it's not because I don't love them any less. It's just kind of where I am right now. So it's very important that you surround yourself with good people who have the same values as you, especially when it comes to marriage, and people who are going to hold you accountable and tell you when you're wrong and give you and all the advice that they give you. At the end of it, it's always go back to your person and talk to them about it. And now if you're around somebody that's saying, girl, I'd leave him, or whatever, you may...
They want your man, girl.
You may want to look at it. Unless he's beating you or knocking you upside the head or something like that, you know, you may want to think twice about the person you're confiding in. And I know we're joking, but I'm being very serious when I say that. What about that money, honey? Finances. Let's talk about it. I honestly think that before you get married, a lot of the financial conversations should have happened before you said I do. Be mindful that within a marriage, the financial roles may switch and they may change. So don't be so stern and so like, this is what we said, this is what we're gonna do. Don't let that be to your detriment. You're gonna have to flip it, reverse it, do whatever it needs to do to make sure that your home and your marriage flows smoothly. A lot of divorces, a lot of arguments, a lot of fights happen because of finances. And that's one thing I told Justin when we started dating. I said, I never want us to have to go through, or not even go through, I just never want us to have to fight or argue about money. Like that's just something that if we can avoid it, I want to avoid it at all costs. It doesn't always happen that way. Life happens, people change, dynamics change, so you just have to always bring everything back to your partner. Y'all talk about it, you come up with a plan, and if it works for you, it works for you. And everybody on the outside doesn't have to know. You don't have to bring people into your business. If y'all are okay with the arrangement and what you have decided and it works and y'all are both happy, then go with that.
The best thing you do is be transparent. Don't be out here trying to flauge like you got it and you don't have it. Be very open, and if that person loves you, they be open minded. But you gotta have a plan of action as well. Mm-hmm. When we first got together, one thing I said was, I don't want you to be where you have your nails done. You got this brand of purses. You gotta get, basically you bought a gallon of milk, and then we get together, you buying half gallons of milk. Mm-hmm. That's going backwards. We should be buying 2 gallons of milk. Mm-hmm. And so, also looking at that lifestyle, a lot of y'all get with people and y'all don't look at their lifestyle. That's why it don't work. And I'm being funny but serious. Every person before me and y'all got together, up to me and you, they know I love shoes. Like, if I'm going to spend on anything, you can say what you want. I'm going to spend whatever on some shoes. And I will talk to anybody. You can ask Neosha, ask my wife. I will talk to you and convince you that this shoe is worth it. And I know it ain't worth it. But because that's what I love, that's what I'm going to put my money in. Yeah. It's like a person who loves cars. You can talk to me about a car all day, and I'm talking to you about used parts. you telling me, hey, you need to get a new part. I'm like, okay. Well, let's call it a junkyard. So, I mean, it's all about we all got our own thing. That thing for everybody is different.
Mm-hmm. This just goes back to every decision you make is going to directly affect somebody. So, y'all really, as a married couple, you always have to just come together and make decisions. Before Justin and I even got married, I wouldn't say it was about 6 months before we got married. He left his job, y'all. He said deuce. But it wasn't a decision he made on his own. It was a decision that we made together, and we didn't have just one conversation about it.
It was like 2 months. It was actually probably longer than that, but I'm going to say at least 2 long months, like every day talking.
We were talking about it a lot and just saying the way that our lives would change. And it was a lot. It took a lot.
And that first year was tough.
It was very tough.
It was real tough.
It was very tough.
Lifestyle changed. That's what we talk about. Your lifestyle changed.
It completely changed.
But it was for, and I don't forget what you're saying. Yeah. When our lifestyle changed, it's because I'm gonna take a step back to take 2 steps forward, versus I'm taking a step back and we're gonna keep going back.
Right.
So that would be the biggest thing.
Yeah. And so, and I say that to say that's just not a conversation you just have one time. That's a conversation y'all have to have a lot of times, and to make sure hey, we're all on one page. I know what we need to do. And even when Justin left his job, because I knew for a while that I would have to be, the provider of the house, there wasn't a point that I wanted to throw it in his face or make him feel less than. If anything, I'm hyping him up more because I know the sacrifice and the withal it took for him to make that decision. We went through some woes.
We had to cut back on some stuff.
We went through some woes. It was a lot of changes. It was very different, but and this is going to go into what we talk about with the boundaries and things like that. Nobody on the outside knew what we were dealing with on the inside.
Still.
Until they watch this video,
and
they're not going to know.
And
this has been a year and a half, 2 years,
still don't
post. So that just goes into there's some things that you have to keep within the confines on your home. So have the discussions, talk about it. Even me, I've had recently an opportunity to do something different within my career. And, we talked about it before I even applied for it, right? And it was just an idea. It was just kind of da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. But then the ball started rolling, and it was rolling fast. So now, instead of us talking now it's kind of okay, let's really sit down and have this discussion and see what it's like. And though this discussion didn't take us 2 months, we still talked about it over a period of time. Mm-hmm. So anything that you do financially that's going to dramatically affect your lives, make sure y'all are talking about it and discussing it and talking about it with each other. I can talk to my mom, I can talk to his mom, I can talk to my dad or whoever, but ultimately the decision is going to be based on what we feel like and how our lives are going to be affected.
Even when it came to joint accounts, separate accounts, all that stuff, what works for y'all? Mm-hmm. There's so many things you can do beforehand, mm-hmm. backhand, whatever. You just have to, again, what works for you.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's all about what makes y'all's world go round. You know, one thing that we learned in marriage counseling that I tell to this day and that I kind of live by really within our marriage.
Shout out to
Darius and Santana.
There it is.
Is what works in somebody else's household may not work in your household. And so you, like my husband said, you have to do what works for y'all. So I have a quick question. What is one word that you would use that described like our first year of marriage? One word.
I'm thinking. I would say different for sure. Would be my one word.
Why different?
Because our like we haven't really been settled in I'll say since we've been married, but even like of course leading up to that, just due to different changes. I would say different because like it's just always been forever changing. It's always a new something new being thrown our way, or scheduling changes. You know, my business going from one athlete to how many we got now, and then it's always changing. It's just always forever evolving into something else, and so that would be like my biggest thing.
I hope that we're always evolving though, and always changing for the better. Like add that in there because you know we can change for the worse, but I hope that we're always.
Come on.
Cause you petty. You know you petty. Anyways, I hope that our relationship's always evolving and always changing for the better. Like I don't want us to be stagnant. I mean, I know at some point we'll kind of just, you know, we'll hit the plateau, but I hope within that plateau we level up and do something different. You know, within the confines of what we have going on. One word that I would use to describe our marriage in this first year, I would say is support. Supportive, support, all variations of the word. We've had to lean on each other a lot. Even before, I would say starting from the August before we got married in October until now, we've had to lean on each other a lot and be very supportive of each other because, like Justin said, we were always evolving and doing different things. You know, when he stepped out and did his own thing, then it's kind of like, now I'm inspired. Let me step out and do my thing. And now we're doing our thing at the same time and, you know, at different levels.
We're just doing it.
But within that, we have to be supportive to each other, you know, at every step of the way. And so I think that's the word that I would
absolutely
use. For sure.
1,000%.
All right, so one last topic before we wrap it on up is future planning. How important is it to make goals? What kind of goals should you set?
Yes.
And just, you know, different things like that.
For sure.
I'll start. I'll say.
Oh yeah, because I'm always starting. When I be starting.
Do you not remember that we set couples New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, I remember that. Like it was yesterday.
But we haven't referred back to them. And it's almost a whole nother year. So, though we did set goals, I think because we just had so much going on and there was just so many different changes, we never kind of like was like, okay, this is our goal. We need to make sure we do that. I think one thing we did say, though, was like keeping like date nights. And I will say like our date night has been a constant within our relationship. It's very important. I don't know how important it is to him, but it's very important to me that we get our every week date night.
I mean, date night is probably the most important thing in my life.
And that's what you good.
I mean,
good answer. Good answer.
I couldn't live without it.
Oh yes, you know, number one on the board. Make goals of things that you want to do as a couple. And also make goals of things that you want to do, as an individual. If you haven't already, I made a fall goal list. So check out that video. It'll be linked down in the description box. A shameless plug right there. What about you?
I mean, when it comes to goal setting,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think goals help us have something to drive to. I think a lot of times most of us live life aimlessly, meaning, we just live life on, if this happens, it happens. I wish this would happen. Want this happen, but what we don't measure, we lack. What you don't measure, what you don't track, you lack. And I learned that in business. Like, it's nothing more important than seeing your numbers. Like, your numbers are probably like it's like a report card. You can't lie to yourself about it, and you learn a lot about yourself with it. Y'all talking about life after marriage. Like, what does that entail? Like, how do I track things in my marriage? You really can't track like certain things, but you can track like, are we bringing in more money in the house this month or no? Is our money staying the same or is it going down? If it's going down, where is it going? What are we spending money on? What can we do more of? What can we do less of? What's my partner? If you've been in a relationship for a long time, you can ask yourself, was my partner happy 3 months out of 12 this year? Were they 0 out of 12? And that's gonna tell me like, man, I ain't even making a 50 in the class. I'm failing. And so you can ask yourself a multitude of things. And so it's important to have those goals together, because those things are going to allow you to track y'all's progress. And then even in the Bible, it says 2 is better than 1.
Yep.
You get favor in the eyes of God whenever you become married, things like that. And so, it's not just...
you better preach.
It's not just... It's not just your real world or reality, but it's also spiritual. So, I mean... You have to take all into account, because if you're doing the right things, you're going to be blessed. But if you're not... if you're doing a lot on your own, you only can go so far.
This is something I talked about to my my brother. I was just telling him, like, hey, if you don't know where you're going, you're just going. If we don't know what exit to take, what road to turn off on, then we're just driving to an unknown destination. So, you want to have visions for yourself.
Situation.
I said destination.
Will arise, but you gotta be smart about it. What Jonathan Major say? You my Corella.
He said through the fire.
Right, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Well, I'm listening.
All right, so if you don't have a vision, you're going nowhere fast. I know people have heard that saying, and it's very true. Like, if we're just driving and just going, we don't know what exit, what merge, what street, nothing. We're just going. And so I believe that it's very important for you to have a vision, not just like for yourself, but in your relationship. What do you want your relationship, what do you want your marriage to look like 5 years from now? What do you want your life, your individual life to look like 5 years from now? And how do I line up these visions so that I'm A, feeding myself, but B, also feeding my marriage? And so y'all have to, all right, cutting up. So y'all have to come together and make sure that y'all are on the same page. A lot of questions can be answered and a lot of things can be avoided if y'all just sit down and say, well, this is what I think it should look like. This is what I think I should look like.
You'll be amazed when you talk how much clarity you can get.
Exactly. And then also, too, I think I say a lot of things can be avoided because if I'm envisioning that our life is going to be purple and he's envisioning our life is going to be yellow, at no point or is where he's working to and what I'm working to, are they ever going to mesh? And I feel like that's a lot of times where a lot of arguments and disagreements and the fights and the friction within a relationship happens, is because we're working two different dreams. When Justin decided to go into his business full time, I knew that we had to pour a lot into that. Like, I couldn't do what I wanted to do because it just, at that point, it just didn't make sense. It wouldn't have been a smart move to do. But after we've gotten him situated and business is booming, come on.
Here you go.
Business is banging. Well, now that gives me freedom, so now I can work on my individual vision and where I see myself. And then, like now today, where both of our visions have merged and our worlds have collided and come together. So sit down with your partner. Y'all probably gonna get tired of me saying that. Sit down with your partner. Sit down with your partner. If y'all don't take anything from all these videos that I've done in this series, sit down with your partner and talk to them. There's nothing like understanding. There's nothing like being on one accord. There's nothing like just knowing like, hey, this is what it is. And it builds such a great foundation. Also, too, we're older. So life for us is a little bit different, too, because of our age. And we communicate a little bit different than we would have communicated had we been...
Because I was like living that life before 30.
Right. And so...
No, I wouldn't live that life like this. I was like,
believe what he said the first time.
I wasn't out there living no life.
Right. Anyways, the way we communicate now is a product of hard work. We've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of self-work as individuals. We've done a lot of relationship work together. And for us to talk and communicate the way that we can communicate now is just a product of the hard work that we put in. And I hope, and we're going to always be working at it. Like, we still get into little tiffs. I mean, he still annoys me. I still annoy him. But it's all about communicating and talking it out and figuring out what's important to hold on to. Is it really important for me to hold on to this, or does it do better for us to kind of let it go and let's move on with the next thing? So, I'll say all that to say one last time, sit down with your partner, figure out what works best for y'all, and whatever that looks like, no matter how crazy it looks, as long as it's not illegal, do it.
Right, and be realistic.
And then I will say this one last thing too to wrap up is be intentional with the time that you have together. Especially if you're married to someone like I am who does have their own business. He is a lot of times, and this is like not a dig or anything like that, but a lot of times because he does have his own business, he's not present with me, right? Because there's 50 million things that he needs to get done and he has to do. And that's fine. That's cool. We actually talked about what life would look like as him being a business owner before he decided to do that. So that's just one of those things that we communicated and I was well aware of. So it wasn't a surprise when it happened. But because he's not present all the time and at every second of every single day, it just makes the time that we do have, like the date nights or when we're kind of like chilling in bed or when we're at the dinner table and talking and hanging out, it just makes it more important for us to be intentional and to really like check in and be in tune with each other during those times. I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing my husband, because I'm not, when I say he's not present, because anytime that I've ever really needed him, he's always there. So even though I know he's training, if I shoot him a text message, I'm like, hey, call me, I know I'm going to get a phone call within 10 minutes, and whatever I have going on, I can bring that to him, and he's there to help me through it. Now, is he always going to give me the absolute best advice? No. He's in the middle of training. It'd be crazy for me to think he's going to put on his best thinking hat. At that point, it's just like I need to vent, and I need to get it out, and I need him to listen to me. And then normally when he comes home, then that's when we can sit and talk about it and come up with a plan and really, kind of problem solve together. But that's what works for us. That may not work for y'all, so figure out a plan that works for you guys. All right, y'all, so that wraps up my wedding planning series. This is part 4 of 4. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. Check out the other 3 videos prior to this one. Thank you to my husband for joining us on this video today. I hope we left you guys with some great advice, left you guys with some gems, and just gave you some motivation to be able to go out and live your best married life. Drop down in the comments, let me know what's good, what's not. If you have any other questions or anything like that, we'll be happy to answer them and help you any way we can. Also, hit the subscribe button, y'all. Hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to tell somebody, to tell somebody, to tell somebody else to come on over and enjoy LaVie with me. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Bye. No, now.
All right.
Yeah.